علمي من الرحمن ذي الآلاء بالله حزت الفضل لا بدهائي كيف الوصول إلى مدارج شكره
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى عبده المسيح الموعود وبعد. Our dear viewers, I once again welcome you to our program Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam, a program in which we review the masterpiece of the promised Messiah ﷺ, that is Islami Usul Ki Philosophy, Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam. Today, it is still Kadeku Mu'minu Qasim, your host, and with me is the Sheikh Ramadan Kabagambe. Sheikh Ramadan, before we go any further, may you have a greeting to our beloved viewers.
Yes, I'm really humbled and thankful to you for hosting me today. Now, dear viewers, I would like to also greet you and say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah the Almighty be unto you all. Thank you.
Previously, we have discussed the questions, that's the first, the second, and the fourth question. And good enough, by the grace of God, we've come to the fifth question. Fortunately, it's the last question. So our viewers, I do believe they have been following us. And it is even the last question still in this book, as discussed by the promised Messiah ﷺ, and that is the source of divine knowledge. The source of divine knowledge. When it comes to my understanding that sources of divine knowledge, they could be many.
Yeah, sure.
But before we come to know them, what could be the importance of sources of divine knowledge?
Yeah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى عبده المسيح الموعود عليه الصلاة والسلام. The sources of divine knowledge. Why should we seek for, divine knowledge?
Yes.
It should be clear that when Allah created mankind, He did so not for the human being created to be boastful and run about in the world, behaving proudly and exhibiting bad manners and evil ways of living. No. Man was created to worship Allah the Almighty. That is the sole purpose of your creation, you and myself. And in doing so, there is that constant urge in a human being of excelling and reaching the greater heights in worshiping Allah the Almighty. So people tend to seek to know, who is this God and how can I know Him, how can I get close to Him? Even to the extent that some of the atheists also, although they believe and they don't believe in God, and the pagans who believe, worship idols, tend to have the element of fear of that supreme deity, that supreme being called God. That is why we are told that even after a child's birth, Adhan and Iqama should be called in the ears, so as to be reminded that in this world you are just going to worship Allah. there is no any point in time that you should spend without remembering Allah the Almighty.
You've even reminded me of one thing.
Yeah.
Still in the book under discussion.
Sure.
The promised Messiah, I think it is the second question. Man's the object of man, that's the purpose of his creation, and how to attain it. That simply shows that one should know the purpose of his creation.
Exactly. And that is why we should seek to know, to get divine knowledge. So in essence, we are told that وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We did not create the jinn and mankind except with the sole purpose of worshipping Allah the Almighty, except to worship me, myself. Allah is talking about himself. And in a hadith, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed us, and after having got inspiration and advice and exhortation from Allah the Almighty, he told us to first know Allah the Almighty before we can worship him. إِرِفُونِ قَبْلَ أَن تَعْبُدُونِ وَإِن لَمْ تَعْرِفُونِ فَكَيْفَ تَعْبُدُونِ. You are instructed to first know who God is, and then you will be able to worship him in the best possible way. Because you cannot worship anything that you don't understand.
Yes.
So how will you worship any being, God that you don't understand? You first know him, that this is the God. You accept his grandeur and greatness and might. Then you have somewhere to start from. You see, all these things are very necessary in pursuit of the attainment of Allah the Almighty. So
you are bringing some question to my mind.
Yes, please.
Because the Holy Quran still gives us or draws an attention to the three types of knowledge.
Yeah.
You want me to ask you at this stage, what are they?
Yeah. Yes.
Because that's where you are trying to take us.
Yes. Okay. The viewers should know that yes, you are seeking to get the divine knowledge.
Yes.
And according to the promised Messiah, divine knowledges are got through three ways.
Yes.
He said the first should be the knowledge by way of certainty of inference. Knowledge by way of certainty of inference. You see smoke somewhere in a distant place, and by way of interpretation, you know that there is no smoke without fire. So you come to a conclusion that there is fire somewhere there where you have seen the smoke. But yet still, the knowledge you have got at that point is still kind of incomplete. It is still defective.
You've not yet confirmed.
You've not yet confirmed
what is really there.
Exactly. So in this life, we live in a way of constant mahasibah, constant scrutiny of ourselves. Whether you go wrong, you come back to the right path and you continue doing that. And you see, in that way, you continue seeking that knowledge of attaining Allah the Almighty and of divine knowledge, like we were saying. And at the end, maybe after your death, and that is when you arrive at the other second or third stage of getting the divine knowledge. But at that point, you are always in a constant scrutiny and evaluation of yourself.
Thank you a lot for that, and I still remind our viewers that we are on the last question, that is sources of divine knowledge. We've seen that it is the Sheikh Sahib was told us that the promised Messiah discussed the three ways of how to attain the divine knowledge. And with us we have Sheikh Nurdin Sabba, who has joined us online. I would like him to take us through the other two ways, or the other two ways of attaining divine knowledge.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi for such a wonderful program again. Concerning the knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared in the Holy Quran, and according to the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, these are three ways through which Allah has granted mankind that kind of knowledge. And he explained very well that one, we have that knowledge by inference, call it the knowledge by just information, reason. Someone gives you or tells you something and straight away you believe that yes, it do or it does exist. Now that is called ilmul yaqin. Ilm, that is knowledge by ilm. But still we have other types of knowledge, and one of it is that hakul yakin and ainul yakin. Ainul yakin, this is knowledge by sight. When you are told about something and you reach that place or event and you see it, you witness it by yourself, that is ainul yakin, meaning you have witnessed by yourself that particular event or that particular something, and you come to understand that yes, indeed it does exist. Now when we come to hakul yakin is, this is the knowledge by experience. When you experience something yourself, for instance, we know that when you see a smoke, you have to conclude by saying that there must be fire, because smoke cannot be separated from fire. You conclude by saying that there is fire in that place. But again, when you reach that place and you see the flames of the fire, there, that is the knowledge called ainul yakin, because you have witnessed it by yourself. But again, when you touch it, you touch the fire, then that is called hakul yakin, meaning you have experienced it by yourself. That is also knowledge explained by the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. So in nutshell, these are the three categories or types of knowledge that the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam has explained, that have been given out in the Holy Quran. That is knowledge by sight, that is ilmul yakin. Knowledge by knowledge by sight, that is ainul yakin. Knowledge by inference, that is by reason, ilmul yakin. Then lastly, it is the knowledge of experience, that is hakul yakin. Those are the three types of knowledge that has been explained by the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, and that is how I can go about that question. Inshallah, until next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you a lot for your contribution towards our program. Sheikh Sahib, some of the verses of the Holy Quran that the promised Messiah quoted and said, that they indicate that one can obtain certainty of knowledge by influence through one's ears. And you've explained to us the way we can, the first way, that is knowledge, the way of certainty by influence.
Inference, yeah.
May you elaborate how? That could be the question. How can someone?
Yes, you see, you said one can get certainty of knowledge through hearing and ears.
Yes.
Yes, because that's what the Holy Quran said. He says in Surah Al-Mulk, chapter 67 of the Holy Quran, verse 11, that وَقَالُوا لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. This is a statement that entails despair from the part of the disbelievers. They reached in the hereafter and they found themselves in blazing fire. So at this point they are showing remorse, and they are remorseful. They wish they had done good, because they are seeing the real fire that has engulfed them. And they said, لَوْ كُنَّا نَسْمَعُ أَوْ نَعْقِلُ. If at all we had understood and we had given ears to some of the advices that were given to us by the holy people, مَا كُنَّا فِي أَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ, we would not have found ourselves in the blazing fire. So this certainty, knowledge by certainty of inference can also be gotten with the ears, because all these limbs and all these parts of the body that we have, the eyes, the ears, and the mouth, they were not given to us for just beautification only. No, they were given us to us for us to use them. We should not just use them irrelevantly. If you were given advice from a prophet of Allah the Almighty, you ought to have followed his advice, because what he tells you, he has got certainty of it, and because he is taught by Allah the Almighty, who is the supreme being and who is the most knowledgeable and all-knowing being. So if you hear any good advice of how you can reach Allah the Almighty and how you can know who Allah truly is, that is what we should do as we are living beings here in the world. This is the time of practical life. This is the practical life. We have to put everything that we are given as advice into action, so that we can reap big in the hereafter.
Remember, here we are now sowing.
We are now sowing. I used to say that this is a sowing field, because this is what the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. This world here is the sowing field, and what you sow is what you reap there. Yes. What you sow here in this world is what you will reap in the hereafter. Let us do as many good deeds as possible, so as to warrant the good life that we desire in the hereafter.
Thank you a lot for that wonderful elaborating of the questions that I usually also find in the book as I read it, and our viewer, I do believe, would like to know what is really the view, or what was the promised Messiah meaning here. And still, whether we explain it more, it's more better when you read it by yourself. If you don't have a a hard copy, get a soft copy. That is from www.alislam.org. Not only do you find there the philosophy of the teachings of Islam as a book, but you find many other books. Not even the whole Quran is there, and many other books, either those of the promised Messiah, those of the successors of the promised Messiah, and many others. Sheikh Sahib, the promised Messiah says that the Quran is not confined merely to knowledge gained through continuity of hearing. It contains well-reasoned arguments, that is, which carries conviction.
No.
But take us through this, please.
Yes, like you should remember that the Quran, after setting out some of its commandments, after instructing you not to do something, or after instructing you to do something, it does not stop there. As a book that is revealed for the guidance of mankind, you see, it continues to elaborate and give reasons why actually something has been forbidden or something has been allowed or instructed onto you to do. Take an example. We are told that we should observe prayer and give zakat. Why should we observe prayer? He told us in another verse, وَاقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. At one place he told you to observe prayer.
Yes.
And in another place he tells you why you are supposed to observe prayer. Because تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. This salah, this prayer, will actually, take you from the habit of, doing evil and undesirable actions. It gives you the reason why you should not do it. In another place, they told you not to engage in games of hazard and taking wine. Why? Because إثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. There is little good, but the evil from those two bad deeds are, more. The evil things that you would do after pertaining in those evil deeds would be more than the benefit you would have derived from them. So that is the Quran. That is how Allah has set it. That it does not stop on only telling you to refrain from something or telling you to do something, but it continues to give you the reasons why you should do it or not do it. And we are told also in another place that this Quran is actually a dhikr that is mubarak. وَهَذَا ذِكْرٌ مُبَارَكٌ. This is a reminder. You see, فَذَكِّرْ إِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Believers are always advised to, their nature is weak. The nature of mankind, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Nature of mankind is a weak one. So mankind was created in a weak form. I told you, no man is an island. You will falter, you stumble, you will fall. But the most important thing is, however much you fall, you must get up. So we are always reminded, like the Quran says, this is a reminder. Things were already there. We were instructed to do things, and we were instructed not to do things even before, if in the eras of the people that preceded us. So this is just a reminder. The Quran is just a reminder, and Allah does not stop there. He will always continue giving us some of the reminders to still continue on the right path. So Allah does not, and the Quran does not force people to do it, but it gives reasons why things are forbidden from us and why we are allowed to do some of the other things. That should remind you that you, after having spent some of your time in the world trying to strive and know God and actually get close to Him, in the hereafter, you see these things that you desired for. For example, if we were doing good, you start seeing paradise, and you start saying, that is where I'm heading, that is what I want. And of course it will be, the other way around for the disbelievers, of course. After having spent your life, without paying heed to the instructions of God Almighty.
But still the disbelievers, they do enjoy the earth. Have earthly life than even the...
Yes, so that is why we would advise our viewers plus ourselves that it is always good to strive, at least suffer in this world, but the hereafter should be good. Because the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam also told us that the world that we live in is sijnun lil mu'min. It is a prison actually for the believer. Because don't expect a believer to be through this earth, through this world, without any trials. You'll be tried, you'll pass through difficult times as a believer. But the ultimate goal is for you to attain an easy and good life in the hereafter. In that same hadith, they said, وَجَنَّةٌ لِلْكَافِرِ. This world that we live in is Jannah for the disbeliever. So they may have enjoyed excellently in this life, but how about the hereafter, which is, everlasting? So I would choose that at least I should suffer here, but in the hereafter I enjoy.
But that even the Promised Messiah, still in the same book, he says that there are two ways to attain what you want. There is a time to strive and a time to get out of the striving.
Yes.
Meaning that today I'm striving to go to pray to God. I'm striving in the name of God to do whatever it's required. But in attainment, I will attain paradise.
Yeah.
It gives me an example of a school-going children. That if these children are going to school, they every day in the morning, they are trying to see how will my future be. If they are the kind of children that after reaching somewhere, they will branch off and they don't go to the right path to school. So meaning they won't attain what they want.
Of course, the future will be as dull as they've been doing in the childhood. You see, like you've given, by the way, a very good example. You see, if a school-going child, when this child does not strive hard, and by the way, by striving hard, he will be suffering.
Yes.
It will be real suffering, but of course, he will be working for the hereafter. I mean, for the later part of his life, after graduation, after getting some earning, and he will start enjoying, and it will remind him that is what I worked for. Except, of course, there are children who want to go to school, because at the same time, why should he suffer? If he doesn't want to suffer, then the future will not be good for him, because he shied away from suffering when he was young. So at the time, by the way, he will be in need of the benefits and the enjoyment, that's the time he will not have it, because he did not strive for it. That's the same thing that applies to the believers here. When you strive hard, however much you will suffer, but the hereafter will be good. The akhirah is very good and excellent, better and than the life here in this world.
I thank you, Lord, for coming and forever enduring and putting our invitation into consideration. We meet in our next episode. I remain Kadeku Momin, your host. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
علمي من الرحمن ذي الآلاء بالله حزت الفضل لا بدهائي كيف الوصول إلى مدارج شكره